Ronald B. Hanchett. I was born in Plymouth, Michigan, and I'm 90, almost 94 years old.
What was your birth date?
10/12/23.
So October 12th of 1923?
23.
And as the family knows, you have two birthdays. Why is that?
Because the Navy messed up one day when I went in, and I had to go through the Navy back to after I got to Great Lakes. I had to go to the offices in Great Lakes and go from October 11th to, because everything that they had done they had done as October 12th, all my records. And so it was easier to change my birthday than it was to change all them records that they had made to October 11th.
Okay. Now you were born in Plymouth, Michigan.
Right.
And where are you living now?
I'm living in Westland, Michigan.
Can you tell us where you were or what you were doing when you heard that Pearl Harbor had been attacked by the Japanese?
Well, the night before, I was out trapping, and I had coming back from trapping. I had an accident, and so I had to get my car. I had an old '35 Chevy, and I had to get the car to the garage, and the only way I could do it, I didn't have money, of course, and a friend of mine had a truck, so he was going to take it for me, and I went in the house for something, and I heard that Pearl Harbor was attacked, was bombed, and I didn't know Pearl Harbor from my right foot and left foot or anything. I never heard of Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And then we went on down and took the car down to Wayne, Michigan, to A.S. Pool. And then I come home, and then we listened to the radios, and that's all you could hear all the time on the radios. But it was quite a experience, I might say, to find out that the United States had been attacked. I didn't know the Japanese from anybody else.
Yeah.
All I knew was the United States, what I had learned in school, and all about the U.S. government. And so,
how old were you when the attack took place, approximately? Do you remember how old you were?
when?
How old were you when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor?
Let's see, I was 18. I think I was 18.
Okay, were you still in high school at that time, or had you already graduated?
No, I had graduated.
And where did you graduate high school?
Wayne High. I think I graduated. Yeah, I was graduated.
Okay, all right. And did you volunteer to go into the Navy, or did you get drafted?
Yes, there was myself and 4 other guys from the area that we were all buddies, during the growing up and everything, and we all wanted to join. So we first of all, we went down to the recruiting center down in Detroit, and each one of us had to. I had to go back to my draft board and get a release from them, and one guy had to get his teeth fixed. Another guy, let's see, what was his? There was I can't remember what it was the other, but anyhow, and it took us 5 guys, 5 days, or 4 days to get through all this paperwork and stuff, and stuff we had to do to be eligible. And then we finally got, and then there was one guy was washed out because he had been in an automobile wreck, and he had a plate, a silver plate on the top of his head, and they said that he wouldn't be able to stand the concussion of the guns.
Mm-hmm.
So he cried his heart out. He couldn't go with us. And so when we went down on, I think it was the 13th of January. Yeah, the 13th of January, and we marched from the recruiting place to the railroad station and got on a train, spent all night. We didn't go directly to Great Lakes. They took a roundabout way. I don't know, we went up by Grand Rapids and back. I don't know where all we went. Mm-hmm. And we finally ended up in Chicago, and the morning of the 13th or 14th, something like that.
Of January? Was that 1942? Right after the war had started?
No, that was 1943.
1943? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we got in the Navy, and oh boy, what a time that was.
How long was your training period at Great Lakes?
I think it was 13 weeks.
13 weeks? And why did you choose the Navy?
Well, most of my family before me, and everybody was Navy all the time. And my brother, my younger brother, all he had to do was get his mom and dad to sign a paper, and because he wasn't of draft age yet, mm-hmm. but he was already in the Navy. He was at Great Lakes, and he was going through boots. And, mm-hmm. Then
was your dad in the Navy?
No.
No?
No, he never. He was, during the First World War, he had to support the family because his father had died when he was, I don't know my dad's age, but he was quite young. And so he had to support him. And it was the last few days of the war that he was eligible to go, but he never did go.
Okay.
Because the war was over by then, World War I.
Now, what do you recall? What your mom and dad thought about you volunteering for the Navy?
Well, they were broken up, of course, but they were rather proud because both of us boys going in the Navy. And
do you remember any of your trainers at Great Lakes when you were being trained?
The chief petty officer was, which was the head of the company 92, I think it was. He was a chief boatswain mate, and he was very strict, and he wanted everybody to step at the same time, right and left and so on.
Right.
And we learned a lot from that guy. They used to have what they called rooster companies, mm-hmm. for companies that, I think our company was about 90 people, and we got this good letters and everything. We marching in and drilling and all the rifle drills and everything else. Mm-hmm. We didn't do much shooting, only 22s, but most of it was with wooden rifles. That's what we drilled with.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, we got damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's left foot moved at the same time and stuff like that, you know.
Right. Did that, once you eventually were on the ship and everything, did that have a purpose?
Well, no, that didn't. No, that wasn't important for the ship, but it taught us discipline
Mm-hmm.
and respect for our officers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember your first conflict
Yeah,
at sea? What was that?
it was the Marianas Turkey Shoot,
Okay.
which was the invasion of Guam and Tinian and Rota and one other little island. What was it? But they called it the Marianas Turkey Shoot that day because there was actually the Japs were after us, and we met them, and the war or the Japs fighter pilots and the Navy fighter.
Mm-hmm.
They shot down over 400 Japanese planes that day, and I think we lost something like 30.
Okay.
So they call it the Marianas Turkey Shoot.
And what was your responsibility on the ship during that day?
I was a gunner's mate in charge of a 5-inch 38.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't do much shooting. Most of the shooting was done with the planes. I mean, we shot down some shot down a plane or two that day, but most of it was, now the 5-inch, that was far off.
Okay.
Like we could go as far as 9 miles,
Mm-hmm.
but more on bombardment. But we didn't shoot at planes that far, of course.
Right.
But and take out 2-3 miles.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, we didn't do too much shooting. We heard about the Japs, and then planes would come back. We'd recover on our carriers,
Mm-hmm.
and then there'd be some more go out. It was all in all, it was quite a day.
No, I'm sure. Now you had many days like that, I would imagine. What other battles were you at that you can recall?
Well, let's see. There's the Philippine Sea, but that was more in ship engagement. There was planes involved, but nothing like
Mm-hmm.
the Guam and those places. And then there was the older ships that were, some of them, was at Pearl Harbor, damaged, and they had since been well, this is later on though. They'd been repaired, and actually, when the Philippine Sea, it was probably more the old ships
Mm-hmm.
that retaliated or engaged the Japs, and every time the Japs were trying to trap us, we would get we'd find out, and we'd get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but the ones I remember the best was when it come to Okinawa and Iwo Jima. That was near the end of the war. Okinawa, we was at, that's when the kamikazes,
Mm-hmm.
they were bent on destroying ships. Of course, their primary target was the aircraft carriers.
Right.
And then the cruisers and battle wagons.
Did any of the kamikazes?
Huh?
Did any of the kamikaze planes hit your ship directly?
No, I never did hit it. We had some close calls. We had a torpedo dropped on us once,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if it was the angle or what. But when it hit the ship, it never hit the detonator.
Okay.
I think it must have hit the ship like this and glanced off.
Okay.
We were very fortunate.
Yeah.
But we was at battle or at general quarters for 3 solid days. Slept right at the guns.
Mm-hmm.
They brought us sandwiches and stuff like that to eat.
And that was during the Battle of Okinawa?
Okinawa, yes.
Mm-hmm. And what is your memory of Iwo Jima?
Well, that was more about the Marines, you know, trying to. We would give them support, but it was nothing but black sand. Iwo Jima, and it was hard for the Marines to navigate or and get in that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the Japs were just holed up in all kinds of holes and caves and things like that, and wouldn't want to give up. But Okinawa, there was several of our aircraft carriers were hit, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember the Franklin. It was listed quite bad, and it was smoking, and there were no sailors and firefighters and stuff. How they saved that ship, I'll never know. But
Mm-hmm.
they managed to keep the ship afloat, and finally the Japs ran out of planes or something, and I mean it wasn't as concentrated as it was
Mm-hmm.
earlier.
Did the USS Miami receive any medals or accommodations during the war that you can recall?
Well, we got battle ribbons, you know, for different conflicts. We had 5, I think,
Okay.
5 different ones. The Atlantic, of course, one was the Atlantic Theater, the Pacific Theater, the Philippine Sea, there was a couple of other ones. I can't even remember what they called them.
Okay.
And then our ship was credited with 1 light cruiser sunk and 5 Japanese planes shot down,
Mm-hmm.
and that was painted on our bridge.
Mm-hmm. Do you recall ever being in a hurricane during the war? Were you involved in
Typhoons?
a typhoon? I mean, typhoon.
Yes, I remember very vividly the last one that we were in. We were in several typhoons, but that one where we lost, I think it was 4 destroyers, all hands.
Mm-hmm.
It was the one that got our bow bent.
Mm.
When we went up. I didn't think we was ever going to quit going. You know, people were getting so used to up and down that they didn't think much of it. They would write letters or play cards and stuff like that if they were not on. But this one, it just kept going up, and everybody just stopped what they were doing because they knew when that come down. When we started down, we come down, we hit a solid wall of water. I mean, it couldn't have been no more solid if it was made out of brick. And it bent the bow, 3 degrees off center, and ripped the plates open on one side. Luckily, it was up near the front, and the ship fitters were able to plug the gaps and fix the up, and then the deck buckled, and we went the rest of the war like that. And then when Okinawa was all over with, we got orders to head for the States. And I think there was 2 destroyers with us, and we just made a straight beeline, no zigzag or nothing, straight for the States. And we got back there, and we took all the ammunition off, and went into Long Beach, and they started the repairs. What they were doing, we found they were getting prepared all the ships and things, getting everything ready for the invasion of Japan. And while we were there, Truman dropped the bomb, the first atomic bomb. Where was it? Let's see.
So that was August of 1945.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the name of the town. I can't say it. But anyway.
Hiroshima?
Yeah, that was one of them. And
Nagasaki?
Yeah, Nagasaki. And then about how many days? The days later, he dropped the other one, and then the Japs surrendered.
After the Japanese surrendered, did your ship have to go back to Japan?
Oh, yeah, we went back. And for mopping up the operations, they call all these little islands and stuff.
Yeah.
That a lot of Japs didn't even know it was over.
Right.
And we spent 4 hours in Japan, got a Liberty, our ship, and we went in on LST or something. I can't remember what it was. We went in and from our ship into the Tokyo, and we spent 4 hours, but there was nothing but devastation there. There was one building that I can remember was standing, and how the heck it was ever left. This wasn't the area where they dropped the bomb, you know, the heart of the center or whatever. But it was one of them places. They'd just been bombed and bombed and bombed. There was nothing left. But this one building, I don't know if it was meant to be that, but it was, you know, high-rise building. But everything else was just flat. And the Japs were doing anything to make money. They'd be selling stuff along the curb and firewood, and one guy would be selling batteries and the flashlights, the next guy would sell the flashlights and things like that.
Okay, so you had 2 children, and can you state your children's names and When was the first time you saw your son?
The first time I saw him, he's only 2 weeks old.
Mm-hmm.
When I found out that he was born, we got back, we were on our shakedown at the time, down in Trinidad. And I got back to Philadelphia, and right away the Red Cross got me, what was it, 90 hour or something like that, pass to go home. So it was we left Philadelphia on a train, and I went home to Detroit, and I saw May and Barry when he, like I say, he was 2 weeks old, and she, your mother or your grandmother, that looked like she suffered she had quite a time with that birth.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went back right away to I think I spent it was a 72-hour pass, I remember now, and the time I spent was probably about 6 hours at home, and I had to go back.
Mm-hmm.
The only way we traveled then was by train. And then I didn't see him again until I come home during the time that the war, we were on, we got a 20-day leave, and that was in the summer of 40, must have been 44. Anyhow, he was getting around. He was, how old was he? Year and 3 months or something like that.
Okay.
But he didn't know me from Adam, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And he wouldn't have nothing to do with me at first,
Mm-hmm.
for about the first 3 days or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd try to get him to go for a walk with me or something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then one morning, after we were sitting at the breakfast table, and he come and he got a hold of my finger. Come on, walk, let's walk. And so he wanted to go for a walk. And that's how it ended up that we got to be, or that he knew me and everything.
Right. Now, when were you discharged from the Navy?
December 25th, 1945.
Okay. And soon after...
I mean, that's when I got home.
Okay.
Well, actually, that's the same day I was discharged. I got on a train in Chicago. I was discharged at Chicago. It took us a week to go through all the stuff that we had to do, you know, to get discharged. And then I come home, and I walked out of them gates at the Navy Yard at Chicago. I tell you, that was a feeling in itself, to know that no more Navy.
Right. Now, was family there in Chicago to greet you?
No.
No?
I got on a train, I went home, and I got, like I say, the day after Christmas. And it was towards evening when I got home. And then everybody was just happy, and of course, and
Mm-hmm.
we had our Christmas, instead of, they had saved Christmas, so we had Christmas the 26th, really.
Okay. And then a few years later, Sherry was born.
A few years,
Was it a couple years later or the next year?
9 months.
9 months. It was right away.
Yeah. Yeah. I got home December, and Sherry was born in September.
Okay. And that was 1946 when she was born.
Yeah.
Okay. Who did you become employed with after the war?
Well, at first I was working as an auto mechanic, where my father-in-law was service manager, and two of my buddies, Walt Eggers and Chuck Kerr, were working there, so I knew two of the guys, and I was new at it, but I caught on pretty fast about auto repairs, and I did things like brake jobs and repair or replace springs, or and I did some motor repair and tune-ups and things like that. And then we worked at that, and we had rented a house, and but my wife was having trouble with I don't know what it was. She was anemic or what, but anyhow, we couldn't live by ourselves. We had to move back in with my in-laws, and then as time went on, my mother-in-law and father-in-law got so much in debt that they had to sell their house, and we moved on a farm. And that was a total disaster. We farmed for about, I guess maybe 2-3 years, and we just going downhill all the time, getting more and more in debt. And I had to get a job in a factory, and I got a job at Unistrut, and I stayed there, and I was only going to work a year just to get out of debt, but we didn't get out of debt. So I stayed there and worked, and then my father-in-law got so crippled up that he couldn't farm anymore. He tried to be a service manager at a garage in Plymouth. And
where was the farm at?
Farm was on Hicks Road, the first one, just outside of Wayne. And then we moved to one on another one out by west of Plymouth and Northville.
And you made a career at Unistrut. How long did you work there, and what year did you retire?
I worked 8 months, less than 40 years.
Then you sold the home eventually after you retired, and you moved to Harrison.
Yes, that December is what I made. I retired in the middle of the year. May wanted to work another 6 months. She wanted to get 30 years in. That would give her 30 at Garden City Hospital. So we stayed there, and then yeah, we sold the place in April, I think it was, and of 69, I guess it would be.
1989?
Or 89.
Yeah. And how long did you live in Harrison?
22 or 23 years.
And that was on what lake were you living on?
What was the name of that lake?
You got your brother's name.
Huh?
Bud Lake.
Yeah, Bud Lake.
Bud Lake.
Yeah, we lived in Bud Lake.
Yeah.
And I had everything paid for. I built a garage on the place, built more decks, I built steps down to the lake, and and had a nice dock and everything. But it got to be too much for me to handle. I going up and down them steps every morning.
Mm-hmm.
Cause I had a pontoon boat, and we'd get that heavy dew, and then them doggone gnats would get in the dew, and then the sun drying out, and you couldn't get them off of the whatever they were stuck to.
Mm-hmm.
Them little bitty things about the size of pepper. I had to go down every morning when that while the dew was still wet, and wipe it down with towels, and then bring the towels up.
What were your hobbies through your life?
Oh, wood. I used to like to make stuff out of wood.
What kinds of things out of wood would you make?
Well, I made a coffee table for one thing, and then I made a lot of little different things, for the house, whatever. And but May saw this coffee table in the one of the woodworking magazines or something, and she liked that table, and I had a piece of walnut that I had saved from a storm that we had in Wayne when we used to live there. And I saved it all those years, so I made it out of that walnut.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Jennifer's has that table now.
What other hobbies did you have throughout your life that you enjoyed doing?
Oh, well, I love fishing and hunting. I used to go deer hunting every year, pheasant hunting every year, till I couldn't navigate no more.
Talk a little bit about your marriage and how long were you married to May?
Let's see, we were married. When did she die?
2011.
Well, we were married. We had a 50-year celebration, and then we lived we were married quite a few years after that.
I think it was 60. Was it 68 years?
Yes, I think. Yeah, 68. 68 years.
Mm-hmm. And what would you advise young people today getting married? How do you maintain a marriage that long and healthy?
Well, for one thing, love each other.
How important, if at all, is faith to you?
Pardon?
How important is faith to you? Faith in your God.
Oh, that we were quite church. I believe, even though I don't go to church anymore, I believe in God and that, but I don't go to church probably as often as I should, but I can't anymore. So, but I still have faith in God, and I think that God put us all on this earth for a purpose, and I'm trying to fulfill mine.
I think your proudest moment. If you could pick one moment in your life, what is your proudest moment?
Oh boy. don't know, there's so many, but
Yeah, you can name more than one.
to nail it down as one, I just can't. There's a lot. I'm proud of my family, for one thing, and of what each one individual has done, and in their way, and I guess that's about it.